All right, my friends. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Welcome to the show. Welcome back, my friends. You got Jimmy Moreland here for you. We're going to do some voiceover auditions. We're going to do some audiobook narration. We're going to have some fun. That's what we do on this channel. These are real-life auditions that people are actually posting for real U.S. dollars. In some case, other currencies. I am Jimmy Moreland, voice actor, audiobook narrator, and music producer. And we're going to do some, we're going to try to get some work, my friends. We've already been, quick housekeeping. I know I don't stream very frequently, and that's okay. You can just deal with it. But we, sometimes when I want just a little bit of extra boost of motivation, keep myself on task, keep myself from checking Instagram every 5 minutes, you know, that kind of brain rot stuff. It's good to do it's good for my own workflow to do some streams here and there to keep myself on task, if you were. So let's take a look at what we're going to see, and we'll talk about how the stream's going to go and how you can participate if you're so inclined. First of all, this is a chat-focused stream when appropriate. If folks are there who have questions about the software that I'm using, the gear that I'm using, any of the techniques or whatever, why I've got this silly wire hanging down, any kind of stuff like that, hit me up on Twitch or on YouTube. I'm streaming both simultaneously. Twitch messages are sort of easier in my peripheral to see, but I will see and respond to YouTube live chat messages as I'm able. That is until audiobook work starts, which will be later in the stream. But for the first part of the stream, where it's just commercial voiceover auditions, I will see both avenues of chat, and I'll do my best to respond. If I don't see it right away, it's sort of in my peripheral. This is where I'm looking when I'm looking at chat. This is where I'm looking when I'm looking at voiceover copy and so forth. So if you don't see me glance this way, just give it a second, and I'll get to your messages, I promise. Next up, here's what we're actually going to be seeing during the stream here. We've got Pro Tools right here, and then we've got our actual our voiceover jobs. This is voices.com, voice123.com, and then ACX, the Audiobook Creation Exchange. We're going to look at the auditions that are posted and currently available, and we'll quickly talk through my thought process of whether I would or would not audition for job X, Y, or Z. I probably will not do any of these auditions because I am completely stocked up on audiobook work. But we will quickly go through, talk about a couple of these titles and sort of go through my thought process there. But then we will get to actual real life audiobook work here. We've got more voiceover things coming in there, and that's okay. Let's get into it. First, I want to do my little split screen thing here. So let's hit my little macro and go boom, boom. There we go. Now we got both. So we typically start on voices.com because these jobs typically are time sensitive. When they roll in, you've got a limited amount of time to sort of compete with everybody to get in early, to get in first. Look at some of these jobs that have been up for a while. 92 responses on this job. If I record an audition now and submit it, I'm going to be numbered 93. This client is not listening to all 92, 93 responses. They just aren't. They're going to listen to 10 or 20 until they find 2 or 3 good candidates, and then they're going to stop, and they're going to go back and listen to those 2 or 3 candidates until they make their choice. These people are busy. They got a lot to do. They can't spend hours reviewing potentially hundreds of applications of auditions. So they try to be efficient with their time, and so we should try to be efficient with ours. Because I've been doing some traveling, I've been out of the booth for quite a little bit here. A lot of these auditions are going to be old. So we might not be doing many auditions today. We might get right into audiobook work, and that is okay with me because I got a lot of that to do. So we're going to go through, we'll go and make this full screen real quick here, just so we could talk about what we're looking at here. Basically on voices.com, there's a few sort of competing metrics by which I decide, like, do I want to do this audition? First is just like, how many responses are there? If there are more than 50 responses, typically I'm not going to audition. Like 121 responses, like, nah, I'm just There's too much competition in already, which is why you need to be at your desk in front of your mic, ready to hit record when these auditions roll in. Highly recommend having some kind of email like widget or little like auto notification that will ping you the moment an email comes in, so you can check and see like, oh, is it a voices.com job? If it is, drop whatever you're doing and see if it's worth doing. And if it is, record it and submit it right away. And you need to have your workflow set up so that you can be fast on those types of in those types of situations, because that's the only way for your audition to get heard in the first place, let alone booked. So let's go through and look at here. So we talked about the number of responses being the first metric. Next metric is this voice match thing. Basically, like if I'm not a 100% voice match, I'm probably not even going to consider it, because every 100% voice match shows up at the top of the client's sort of listening queue, if you will. See this? I've got a 90% voice match here, probably because it's either telephone or animation. Let's take a look at why I'm a 90% here. Category, internal video. That's a new category. So I imagine a lot of people are showing a 90% on this. Basically, if you don't have a demo specifically tagged with whatever this category is, maximum you're going to be is 90%. So I don't have an internal video category because it's a new category. So I could just like really quickly slop together, and it's kind of silly because you could slop together anything and just tag it this, and suddenly you're a 100% voice match. That is one way you can absolutely game the system on voices.com. It's kind of silly, but whatever. You got to play the game. Suffice it to say, I'm at 90%, so anyone who has slopped together a demo and is 100% is going to show up above me in the queue, even if I submit my audition first. If I'm early and the client doesn't check the auditions for 2 hours, anyone that submitted after me but is a 100% match is going to show up above me in the queue. So being anything less than a 100% voice match, like, ain't no way. Like, look at this one here. 60% voice match. This will be multiple things. Video games category. I don't have a video games demo, and it'll have some crazy like style. Panicky, terrified, role, scientist. I don't have any demos tagged with any of these things because that's just not what I do. So that 60% there makes sense. Suffice it to say, we'll look at this one, but none of these, the ones on this first page. Let's take a look at this one. Already 52 responses. That's kind of high, at the high end. The next thing I'll look at, so 52 responses, that's marginal. 100% voice match, that's good. Next thing we look at, budget. Whatever this number is, let's be generous and consider it at the very high end of the range, $250. Voices.com takes a 20% cut of whatever you book. So it's a cut of whatever number you quote. It's not like you quote a number and then the client has to pay 20% on top of that and you get paid your full quote. No. You are paying Voices out of your cut. And that's in addition to the annual fee you pay. It's a really cool double dip they've got going. Really neat system for them. Let's take a look here. Gotta check that later. Or we might check that off stream here. Let's take a look here. So consider if it is a $250 budget, it's really only $200 you're pocketing, because that $50 is going to go to voices.com. So you got to balance like, okay, what's the budget? And then balance it with what's the actual work. Is it, okay, word count, 182, roughly minute 13 seconds. And just see if you're a good fit. Here it says voice age, young adult. That ain't me. My voice would never be mistaken for being a young adult. So I'm not going to waste my time, and I'm not going to waste the client's time listening to my middle-aged sounding voice. So let's take a look and see if any of these other ones are worth doing. Here's one at 52. Faith-based nonprofit. I say on this channel often, voice talent, know thyself. Know what you are and are not suited for and interested in, and make decisions based on that. This one, we might take a look at that because there's only 22 responses, but for something that old, there's probably a good reason for there only to be 22 responses. Let's take a look. Again, an internal video category. That's why we're at 90%. Internal sales, don't want it to become... Interesting. I'm confused why there are only 22 responses for a video that has such a high budget. Given that all of these tags are pretty standard. Real person, believable, conversational. Let's take a look at this script, and maybe there's something wild in the script. Okay. Script, yada, yada, yada. Okay. For more than 9 users, master... looking at the script looks, fine. Cool piece of advice that I've gotten from, let's just say, very smart people who are worth listening to in the industry. For voiceover scripts, God, especially when there's lots of ellipses and like random weird commas and periods and stuff, ignore all punctuation. It's the kind of thing that like advertising copywriters like to put in because it makes them, feel warm and fuzzy. But as talent, ignore it. Interpret the copy how you think it should be interpreted. And when you book the job, that's when, a director in the studio can like go, oh no, can you read it this way? But yeah, a lot of these ... are just like indicating like, oh, this visually is when the next super is going to come up, or the next, whatever. So we're going to go ahead and why not? Let's read this one. The cool thing about voices.com versus voice123 is that voices.com, the algorithm does not penalize you from stretching, for playing, for getting outside your comfort zone. There's no penalty for just trying something other than, your own wasted time. So we're going to go ahead and record this. We haven't pre-read this, really. We sort of skimmed it to make sure it wasn't like, something questionable for whatever reason. So we're going to read this cold and just see what happens. For more than 90 years, Carolina Foods has... Too much of a pause there. For more than 90 years, Carolina Foods has mastered the art, science, and operations of sweet baked goods, committed to making the highest quality products in the industry. See that period? Baked goods, committed to making the highest quality products in the industry. Now we're taking that read that a little better. In the industry. Now we're taking that expertise to a brand new level with our state-of-the-art award-winning facility, where we've thought of every detail, from our ingredient towers and equipment that ensure freshness and mixing rooms. What a strange sentence. Winning facility, where we've thought of every detail, from our ingredient towers and equipment that ensure freshness, and mixing rooms where we make every product 100% from scratch, to our climate-controlled rooms. Yeah, these facility, where we've thought of every detail from let's go ahead and read from there. Every detail from our... No breath there. Every detail from our ingredient towers and equipment that ensure freshness, and mixing rooms where we make every product 100% from scratch, to our climate-controlled rooms and innovative technology to guarantee uniformity. See, God, I hate... In fact, here. Make our lives easier here. There. We'll go ahead and do that. From scratch, to our climate-controlled rooms and innovative technology from scratch to our climate-controlled rooms and innovative technology to guarantee uniformity and consistency in every product, no matter how extreme the outside temperatures may be. And we do it all without sacrificing the superior quality, long shelf life, and excellent... Oh my God, okay. Okay. Here we go. We'll come back to here. May be. And we do it all without sacrificing the superior quality, long shelf life, and excellent taste our customers have come to expect. From ingredient mix to market, we control every step of the... It's a kind of a... needs to feel like a new thought. To expect. From ingredient mix to market, we control every step... come to expect. From ingredient mix to market, we control every step of the process, allowing us to scale smarter, innovate faster, and build better partnerships with our customers, our employees, and our community. And that's where we're going to stop. For commercial voiceover, any kind of commercial auditions, 50 seconds to 1 minute is all they get. There's no reason to read anything really beyond a minute. Here, I might have gone just beyond a minute just to sort of finish a thought. Like, you don't want to stop mid-thought. But if you find yourself reading up to like, if you find it's like 2 minutes long already, like, like, cut it off, move on. A side benefit of, we got some vehicle noise there, but that shouldn't come through on the recording. So a side benefit of recording punch and roll recording, which is what I'm doing here. Yeah, we're right at about a minute. A benefit of doing punch and roll recording is that you know roughly about how long your final product is going to be. If I were doing a long roll and then editing that down, I wouldn't really have a good proper sense of how long the final take would be. But punch and roll does give you that that benefit. So we'll do this. Bounce this out. We're going to call this Carolina Foods. Why not? Carolina Foods. Boom, boom. Discard changes. And here we're going to go reply. Here we go. Boom. And submit. You notice I didn't spend a whole lot of time doing that audition. I didn't even listen to the final product. You got to be fast. You got to be efficient when you're doing this. Something I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to check this this email that does not appear to be So if you'll bear with me, I've got Okay. In this world, you'll find that a lot of people have multiple streams of income. You got to have a lot of irons in different fires so that you can sort of diversify your risk, spread out your exposure to risk, because you never know when the market for voiceover is going to shift dramatically. For example, COVID happened and nobody wanted the Home Depot, the truck read. People wanted the COVID read. People wanted the we're all in this together. They wanted that. And if you didn't have that really, really in you, then times were tough during COVID. And if you're like me and you've got the Home Depot read on lock, then times were a little bit tougher. But the point is, whether it's just your own personal variance, your swings, your ups and downs as far as your client pipeline and all that stuff, it's good to have different things going on. So for me, that is voiceover, audiobooks. Those are very different businesses, and really they're different industries. Voiceover, I would call that the entertainment and advertising industry. depending on what you're doing in voiceover, where you're doing animation and video games, obviously that's entertainment. If you're doing commercial, that's obviously advertising, whereas audiobooks really are part of the publishing industry. Then I've got podcasts. I do a sort of service for hire for businesses, a turnkey podcast production solution where I will host, edit, and do all the back end to get your podcast delivery ready, and even actually do the delivery stuff if you want to give me passwords. And so I've got that. That's a stream of income. And then I've got music in sort of its own multiple different sort of forms. That's all to say that the email that I just checked was music related. And that's another music related email, but I don't need to check that right now. But suffice to say, it's important to stay busy however you can. If you think like, yeah, voiceover, that's my thing. It's going to be my only thing. Take a breath. It's probably not going to work out as your only thing. Even if it is your main thing, you probably need to have other things going on to be able to sort of float you through the lean times. And even if you have a period of plenty, don't neglect those other things because things are cyclical. They come in waves. Let's stop yapping. Let's look at these. This one, 44 responses, but the budget is only $125. And once Voices takes their cut, that's a $100 job. We'll look at it. $100 to read 67 words. Oh, and it's in Turkish, this looks like. Oh, it is Turkish. Hey, I'm good at this. Turkey and its neighboring countries are dynamic regions with populations. So, a couple things that are going to make me skip this. First of all, I don't know what this is saying. I could pop this into Google Translate, I guess. But it's so petty and silly. But I would need to look up the proper pronunciation for this. This could take me 20 seconds. It could take me 5 minutes to find a native Turkish speaker saying the name of this city. City, right? Yeah, city. Even the pronunciation of Turkey, that's how we say it in the United States, but we don't know if the intended audience for this is the United States. I mean, you would assume, accent North American, you would assume, but I don't know. Don't know. So there are a lot of unknowns, and that just makes me want to go, we'll pass. Okay. All of these are good to go ahead and archive. And let's see on this last page. Here's one that only has 53, A Piano in Arkansas. Is this a book? This is a book. It's really, really short. Very strange. Strange. I mean, if this really is properly an audiobook that's only 15 minutes long, I mean, it's kind of, whatever. People do release shorts. So I'm curious. It does seem like they want a southern accent. So, you know what? Let's just do it. All right, let's go. So, public opinion was in favor of it. Public opinion was in favor of it. Okay, public opinion was in favor of its being an animal, though a harmless one, for there had been a land speculator through the village a few weeks previously who distributed circulars of a female academy for the accomplishment of young ladies. These circulars distinctly stated the use of the piano to be $1 per month. One knowing old chap said, so we're going to make sure we don't. Okay, making sure we don't make a horrible mistake there. Coming back here, we're going to do a pickup here. Per month. One knowing old chap said if they would tell him what soiree, Soiree. So this is one of those spots where having a lot of audiobook experience makes me have an opinion on how to interpret this. So this little bit here, telling him what, and they've separated soiree, the word soiree, into what appears to be 3 syllables, and like I get that makes that joke, that humor makes sense in print. It really does, because you can see the breakdown of the word into 3 syllables. But if I say so I re, a listener they're not gonna track that the joke that I'm making is a misinterpretation of the word soiree. They're gonna be wondering what the hell so I re means. So this is a case where like the audiobook version of the joke is going to be different than the text version of the joke. I'm not going to be adding or changing words. It's that the conveyance of this particular word is going to be different in the audio version than it is in the text version. And I would argue with anyone who disagrees with that. Interpretation is everything, and I think my interpretation here is correct. And I base that on doing 50 audiobooks and coming across these situations many, many times and figuring out what works. So we're going to do it that way. Here we go. $1 per month. One knowing old chap said if they would tell him what One knowing old chap said if they would tell him what soiree meant, he would tell them what a piano was, and no mistake. Okay. Kudos to whoever put this audition up, because if this is the true length of the project, this is a fantastic rate. This is like good for e-learning rates. Like, cool, I'm down, whatever this is. But if they perhaps left off, even if they left off a 0 here, and this is a 23,000 word project, that puts it at about 2.5 hours, which is still a fine rate for an audiobook. And also kudos to them for keeping the audition short. Love to see that. Especially like in an audiobook audition, typically, so I said earlier, commercial auditions are usually 50 to 60 seconds. That's where you're gonna cut it off. Audiobook auditions typically are longer. They're going to be 3 to 5 minutes is about the max that you're going to submit. And the reason that they're longer is that typically for a commercial audition, you're playing one character, yourself, ideally, or whatever the specs call for. And like, even in like a video game or animation thing, you're probably primarily auditioning for one role. And if you book the gig, depending on the terms, you might also be like, hey, what other voices do you have? Because we've got these other roles. Could you fill one of these other roles while we've got you booked for studio time or whatever? It's super, super common. For an audiobook, however, implicit in an audiobook is that you are doing every single character in the book. So the audition you need to have time in the audition to demonstrate your ability to do male and female characters, multiple characters of the same or different genders in conversation with each other. Can the listener discern one voice from the other in conversation with each other and have that also be distinct from the narrator's voice? All of these things are important, and that's kind of hard to cram down into 60 seconds or less. This might be a situation, and if this is Thorpe, this might be kind of one of those things that's purely like the storyteller style, where there's no dialogue. It's all just being told from one person's point of view, and it's sort of stream of consciousness. In that case, this is plenty. This client is going to know, like, are you the right voice for this or not? And that's great. So let's stop yapping. Let's export this. Let's actually listen to this gap to make sure the timing is good. Yep, that's good. All right, turn on the D-click, bounce this out. We're going to call this a piano in Arkansas. A piano in Arkansas. Okay, reply. Hit the audiobook thing. We're going to say, I want to be strictly accurate. Yeah, if they left off a 0, that's actually below what my rate would be, but still curious to find out, and it didn't cost us a lot of time to get that out. And here we go. Okay. The rest of these are probably not worth doing. We'll what is this? We'll consider that. We'll look at it. So let's look at this one. Only 16 responses, and it's got, such a huge budget. Let's take a look here. For an audiobook of this length, that might be a fine. So it looks like, okay. Interesting. I'm curious. So this looks like it's going to have a fair bit of Spanish. It looks like our setting is in like perhaps Chile or Colombia rather, or yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was making sure first that I was like a culturally appropriate candidate to do this book. So let's take a look here. So we're gonna. The author specifically calls out that Spanish phrases are here, and that you should do them correctly. Of course, you should do any phrase correctly. But I speak a fair amount of Spanish, and so I feel pretty confident in my ability to render those appropriately. So we're gonna, I am pretty slammed with. We're gonna go ahead and open this so that we can do the quick audiobook rate calculator thing that we like to do. So let's take a look here. Is it here? Rate calculator. Here we go. I'm just gonna make this full screen. Okay, kind of annoying. Can we zoom out a little bit maybe? Okay, sure. This is fine. Okay, so here we go. Total words in this project, it says 65,000. 65,000. And the budget, let's assume the low end of the budget, 2,500. Now, remember, we're on voices.com, so Voices is going to take 20% of that. So our actual in-pocket would be $2,000 at the very low end of their stated budget. So let's put in $2,000. Budget, oh my God, 2,000. So your PFH, your per finished hour pay rate, $286. That's a good rate. That is a great rate. My rate for new authors to work with is $290. So this is like right at my new author quoting rate. So this is solid. Yeah. And of course, at the high end of the rate, if you were at, what's the high end of the rate? Was it 5? Yeah, 5. So 4,000. You just double that. It's over $500 per finished hour. I doubt it's up there. You kind of have to be a superstar to be getting those kind of rates, but 300 to even up to 350. A lot of like regular, non-famous narrators are earning up in that area and staying busy. But little old me, 290 is what I'm quoting new folks to work with, and I'm staying busy. So I'm happy where I am now. So yeah, I think suffice to say, we're going to go ahead. It is a shorter title, 7 hours. It's a little bit shorter title, so we're going to go ahead and do this here. Back at the Emerald Mine. The sun was almost down, making the jungle around us more green. One solitary cricket was starting his evening work of chirping, soon to be joined by other creatures. Dust-covered miners were beginning their ritual of unwinding after a long session underground. Alberto yelled, "I am immovable! Push me, as hard as you can!" As I pushed him, Alberto, a karate expert, was dexterously redirecting my force upward. I couldn't move him. That is, until Jesse, another Colombian emerald miner, took 3 running steps and crashed into us, piling us all onto the ground in a heap that smelled somewhat of beer. We were at La Pita Emerald. So let's fix this real quick. Paste that there, and we'll go ahead and make that into about a second. And here we go. Punch and roll from here out. Beer. We were at La Pita Emerald Mine, a 2,000 feet altitude in... Beer. We were at La Pita Emerald Mine, at 2,000 feet altitude in the Andes Mountains, in the valley of the Rio Minero. It was always hot there. Minero. It was always hot there. Wait, what? Hot there. After a day of hard work, the patio of the mine camp... there we go. Hot there. After a day of hard work, the patio of the mine camp manager's residence with... Hot there. After a day of hard work, the patio of the mine camp manager's residence, with refreshing blue and white tile and white concrete, was a good place to have a beer and chill out. Stop there. Here we go. Quick edit on our punch and roll. And again, big giant benefit of punch and roll is that you don't even have to listen to what you've done, provided you're experienced and you know what you're doing. Turn this on, bounce this out, and we're going to call this Hardness of Emerald. The Hardness of Emerald. No, you're not getting a live directed session for an audiobook. Sorry. I'm not interested in that. Let's quote that. Here we go. Yeah, ain't no way. Sorry, you're not getting it. If I were hungry for audiobook work, I probably would have put a little bit more time into tailoring the text of my response. I probably would have noted in there like, hey, like I speak a decent amount of Spanish. I'm going to have no trouble with any of the phrases that come along or whatever. But, you know, right now I'm just trying to get some reps in. So I'm not too concerned with whether or not I get that job. Ideally, you shouldn't be overly concerned with any individual job ever at all. Oh God, Mr. Beast Lab. Like, if this thing really is related to Mr. Beast, this budget, go Go screw yourself, dude. Like, get the hell out of here. Multi-billionaires, like, trying to pay minimum wage for talent. Like, get out of here. All right, so that's everything on voices.com. Let's head over to Voice 123. We've got 22 jobs in the queue. Voice 123, the vibe here is totally different. Voice 123, you live and die by your ranking. And there's a lot of different things that determine what your ranking is. And it's also like time-based. Like, you got to keep doing things that push yourself up in the algorithm, because you will slowly start sinking. It's like there's a pull dragging everyone down, and you got to keep pushing yourself up. So it's kind of it's more of a brutal, like, there's game theory in everything you do here, and it's a little bit stressful working on Voice 123. So just keep that in mind. Both platforms have their benefits, and they definitely have their downfalls. So first reason that I will clear out jobs that I'm not interested in is, again, much like voices.com, if there are too many people in line ahead of us. And here, we actually have a very clear metric. I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see right here. This one, 60 out of 50. The second number is the number of proposals that the client has requested to hear. And the first number is how many proposals they have received. This client has requested to hear 50. They've already got more than that amount. So I'm going to skip that one out of here. All of these other ones, it looks like, oh, this one's over. All these other ones were not over the client's requested amount. So that's good. Let's take a look at this email, see if it's a voices.com job. So we'll go over here, refresh. Excuse me? Hello? I know I'm not crazy. That just came in. Where did it go? Did I delete it? View job details. Maybe it was something that got auto pruned or something for spam. Let's take a look here. Voice to elevated. This seems fine. I don't know why this would be not showing up. So we're going to go ahead and do this real quick. Introducing the next evolution in sleep technology, Whisper. This sleek, we're leading towards a tone that's refined, confident, and calm, but we're very open to different interpretations that bring something special to the piece. Okay. Introducing the next evolution in sleep technology, Whisper. This sleek wearable patch tracks your sleep with no wires and no mask. Just stick it on, sync with your phone, and go to bed. Comfortable, accurate, hassle-free. Whisper analyzes your data and shares it with your healthcare provider automatically. Get clinical... we got to fix this thing real quick. First we'll do that. Yeah, okay. Here we go. Automatically. Get clinical-grade insights, all from the comfort of your own bed. Whisper. Better sleep starts here. Visit whisper.co to learn more. Okay. Let's come back here. That's been done. Fix this edit point like that. And then there. Active. Bounce. Whisper. There we go. Bouncing this out. Oh. Is there something wrong with this? Yeah, there might be something wrong with this job. It's not showing me a respond button. Yeah. Why am I not able to respond to this? Restore job. Reply to job. Very strange. That seems What a strange thing that just happened there. Oh, maybe. Oh, I think I know what happened. Okay, so I was number 7 response there. I think I know what happened. I think that. Let me turn this off. I think that when I clicked the all jobs that very last time, that job had just popped into the queue, and so I cleared that out without looking at it. We're going to check an email from my agent real quick off stream because these are frequently NDA. Here we go. Welcome to the Watch Jimmy Type Emails stream. Da-da-da. There we go. We're going to keep that window open over there, actually. It's kind of convenient to have that there. Close that one there. Okay. Refresh here. Boom, boom. So, in addition to these auditions on the pay-to-play websites, my priority when I start my workday... Oh, need to look at this email. My priority when I start my workday is anything from my agent. Those are typically well catered to me. My agent doesn't just send me slop. My agent sends me good work that I am already a good fit for. And they usually pay pretty well, the jobs that I'm up for. So obviously those are going to be my priority versus the slop that you see on the pay-to-plays. I need to check this email here. I need to see if I'm available on these 2 particular dates that are being discussed. Let's see here. Yes, there, and then no there. Let's double check. This is with, okay. Cool. Man, things are happening. All right. Where were we? Let's get back to business here. All right. We're on voice 1, 2, 3. We're talking about the reasons why I'm going to clear out most of these auditions. Here's this right here. Looking for a quote. I realize now that, let's take a look here. Oh, yeah. See, y'all ain't been able to see me this whole time. How sad. Let's go to, where's the pip? Why is my pip not pipping? Let's go. Wait, hello? Why are you? Hey! I didn't even track. I was invisible this whole time. But now you got me. So now you can see my dumb face as I'm working through this stuff. But we're back onto it here. So let's take a look here. Right here, you see this? Looking for a quote. This is garbage. This is the client asking me to be a mind reader, to know what their budget is, and to risk my position in the algorithm based on my ability to read minds. I'm not a mind reader, so they can go screw themselves. I genuinely mean that. If you are asking me to quote your job on a pay-to-play, then I assume you're either stupid or a crook. And I would ask you to prove me wrong. If you're a talent buyer out there and you're like, no, this is actually, I've got legitimate reasons for doing this, and they're not nefarious at all, like, please make the argument. Otherwise, get the hell out of here. Why are there 100 auditions for $100? That's wild. 100 auditions for $500. That makes more sense. This is a TTS. TTS, text to speech. You are training an AI. I'm not going to tell you what to do. For $5,000, There need to be at least 2 more zeros on this number for me to even consider doing a text to speech job. So no, thank you. This one's over. Another more text to speech slop. God, oh my God, how many of these are there? Slop, 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 all the way down. More slop. Okay, let's take a look if there are any other like blatant, obvious like we're not going to do this. Okay. Now we've got 7 jobs that like maybe we'll consider based on, passing through my automatic filters here. Shane Holmes, if it's your favorite. End tag. Payment is in 100 Canadian dollars. The Canadian dollar isn't doing great against the US dollar right now. I don't think. If it's your favorite, it's probably Shane Holmes. So, voice talent, know thyself. I have a hard time with the word probably. Probably. It often comes out probably. So I'm not going to do this, because trying to get a perfect take of probably is probably going to take me way longer than it's worth. Well, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Why not? If it's your favorite, it's probably, see? If it's your favorite, it's probably Shane Holmes. 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 So we're going to give them 2 or 3 takes there. And I think these last 3 in that order are probably the ones to keep. We'll stretch the silence out here and here. Let's listen. Glad I listened. Yep, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and make this, make you active, bounce. We're just going to call this Shane Holmes. Shane Holmes. Accept the invite. Shane Holmes. Making sure I don't have anything weird in here. I'm going to go boom. I've given you 3 takes. Submit. For super, super short lines like that, give them as many takes where you've got like actually something different to show off. If it's a long script, obviously you won't be doing that, but for a super short script like that, like why not? What do we got here? Please mark that as read. Another email. Oh my God. The ad is very stylistic in its visuals. We're looking for a proud and sincere read, something that feels personal but not too emotional. That's a lot of copy. Richmond, Virginia. That's a lot of copy to read. No, wait, nah, I'm not in the mood. $50. This is going to have to be really good and really short. This seems like it is, oh God, no. Yep, that's not me. They're looking for African-American talent. Obviously, that's not me. Bilingual actors are a plus if you can do it in English and Spanish. Save your breath, quit today. Get free patches and gum. Just the writing. Get free patches and gum free. Free is here twice, like get patches and gum free or get free patches and gum at waytoquit.org. I wonder if they make the same, let's find out if they make the same like sloppy writing mistake in the Spanish version. Guarda tu aliento, deja de fumar hoy, consigue parches y chicles gratis en dejeloya.org. .org. Gratis is free. So they did not, well, in Spanish you really couldn't. Gratis parches y chicles. It would be very difficult to like cram in another gratis. So maybe the primary sort of writing. Oh, we've got new. Wait. Oh, that's the second spot. Okay. Tobacco can end lives long before it kills you. Quit today so you have a tomorrow. El tabaco puede acabar con vidas mucho antes de matarte. Déjalo hoy para tener un futuro. Consigue parches y chicles gratis en dejeloya.org. Obviously, I'm not going to do this. Like, I speak a fair amount of Spanish, but my accent and my delivery is not like a natural native speaker sort of delivery. And so like for me to ever get actually booked for something Spanish speaking, they would need to be specifically looking to book someone who sounded like a fucking gringo. Like, there's no other way. And so for commercial, it's never going to happen. It would be a situation where they were booking like an animation or video game character who like, this clearly needs to be a white guy speaking Spanish. And he's doing an okay job at it. I'm your guy for that. But for this, where they're wanting someone who can like very comfortably and naturally deliver in both languages, that ain't me. Oh, here we go. Jurassic Bits, new toy commercial, exciting dramatic read. Yeah, that's probably not me. We're taking a look at this. Introducing new Bitsy featuring Jurassic World. No, that's not me. Okay. That's all of those. Let's go ahead and look at audiobooks. Let's go full screen here, and we're going to look at my filters here. So the filters that I have applied, projects. Let's go ahead and refresh. 11 projects given my filters. Project budget, $200 to $400 per finished hour. No royalty share. I'm not interested in that that's not how I've built my business. Right now, I've got all project lengths selected. This under 3 hours, however, I'm likely not going to do those. If I did, maybe I would do it under a pseudonym. Fiction, nonfiction, yes, please for both. Genre, basically I've got everything except for erotica selected. I just, that's great if that's something you want to do. I'm just, I don't want to spend my time reading that stuff. I'm just going to have too hard a time like delivering it in a way that a listener would find compelling. Like my voice just, I don't think it's well suited for delivering that kind of stuff. So let's take a look here. Let's talk about given my filters. So these books have all passed the absolute bare minimum of am I going to consider these books? So now let's look closely at these and figure out like, am I actually going to do these? So let's start at the bottom, at the oldest books. So if you're wanting to really, really get into audiobook narration, you need to be on ACX and have your filters set, and you need to be refreshing this page multiple times per day. Much like voices.com, speed is the name of the game. If it's been more than a few hours after a rights holder has posted an audition, you might as well not audition. These rights holders, especially up in the higher price points, they get hundreds of auditions. And remember, these are longer auditions. They get hundreds. So that is literal hours of audio that they're getting. And so if you're audition number 200, you're never going to get heard. And therefore, you're never going to book anything. So you need to be in the first 10 or 20. That's how quick you got to be. So not only do you need to be refreshing this page often so that you can see the book right after it's posted, but you also need to be in a position to hit record quickly. And you got to have the skills, both technical and artistic, to be able to render a good performance, both artistically and technically, render a good performance and deliver it quickly. You're in a race. This is a race against hundreds of other very talented producers. So, once this thing gets posted, you have seriously consider it 30 minutes ideally. You need to be in under 30 minutes. Most of the books that I've booked, and I've the majority of my projects, I've gotten them, at least book one of the series, I've gotten through ACX. I haven't done a ton of publisher or agent delivered work. Most of the work that I've gotten, the first project that led me down, a fruitful relationship, the first project came from ACX. And in almost every project that I've booked, I had my audition in certainly within like 10 to 30 minutes. I don't think I've ever booked anything where it's like, oh, I saw it the next day and I submitted an audition. Like, it's just, you're not going to get it heard. It's just not going to happen. So keep that in mind. So given that, we can see when they were posted. The most recent one on this list was posted June 13th. It's the 17th today. So all of these realistically are a no for me, dog. But we're going to pretend these are fresh enough to consider. And now we're going to talk about would we do these. First, judge a book by its cover. Like, does it look like AI slop? Does it look well designed? Does it look like they have a clear concept of who their target audience is and so forth? Like here, I'd say this. So we're going to keep just yapping, and we're not going to be hitting record anymore because my lawn is getting mowed. Or maybe it might be the neighbor's lawn. Someone is mowing a lawn very nearby. So obviously not going to be recording anything anytime very soon. So we'll just chat a little bit, and then we'll end the stream in a few minutes here without recording any audiobook stuff. Maybe I'll do... No, I'll record the audiobook off stream. Just makes me able to do some things for my own comfort. But let's talk about this before we say goodbye. So as far as books that I absolutely wouldn't consider, these two right here, travel guides, man, they're usually, like, nowadays especially, they're usually AI slop. They're usually really, really short. Let's see how short this is. Yeah, this is like going to be maybe an hour and a half. Yeah, maybe an hour and a half. You don't want this stuff in your portfolio. Like, if it's a real project, go ahead and do it under a pseudonym. The reason I say that, if you're talking to a publisher, publishers usually will be interested in talking to you once you have 25, 30 or so titles under your belt. That's when they consider, like, okay, you've been doing this for a while, you're serious about it, you're legit, You probably have a bunch of repeat work, which means clients and potentially audiences are happy with you, so they'll talk to you. So if you tell a publisher, yeah, I've got 30 titles, they'll go, okay, cool, yeah, like let's follow up, like we'll keep in touch. And if they follow up and they look you up and they see on your like Audible list what's available, if it's all this stuff, all these titles under 3 hours, they're going to feel like you misled them about your body of work. Because 30 titles of travel guides, exercise guides, diet books, cookbooks, meditations, daily affirmations, prayer books, things that are really short, have a high potential for being AI slop. Those things, man, that it's not a good thing to have in your portfolio and like count those as like standalone projects. It's common to call those like, that's not an audiobook, that's a pamphlet, that's a brochure. It's an audio pamphlet, an audio brochure, not an audio book. Don't call it an audiobook. I'm not talking down on people who take these, because if the job is real and the payment actually does come through, that's potentially, a couple $100. And who's going to say no to a couple $100, But do it under a pseudonym and don't represent that as a number in your full body of work that you talk to people about. That's my advice there. So I would not do either of these, the Realtor Advantage, Smart Realtor, and look at this. These are both by the same author, Colin O. Cox. So do we really think that the same person has deep expertise and can write with authority on, do we think this person is both the ultimate Caribbean insider and like a realtor, like a real estate? Maybe they are an expert in both, maybe. And they happen to write books and release them on the exact same date to be made into audiobooks. Or did they plug a bunch of stuff into ChatGPT and this is just AI slop? I'm guessing this is AI slop. Let's keep going here. We got some romances here. That's great. Be cognizant of when they're looking for talent of a specific background. Sometimes they're explicit about it, and that's great because you don't have to guess. Black or African American. Obviously, that's not me. So I know I'm not right for it. But sometimes they're not explicit, but you just need to use your context clues. That's like, okay, here, The Poisoned Arrow, a Toltec guide to overcoming fear. I don't have any kind of like cultural or just even like spiritual. I haven't done any like personal delving into Toltec mysticism or mythology, or I'm not exactly sure what it even is. So obviously, like, I'm probably not the right narrator for something like this. Which is not to say you can't read things that you don't like, know a ton about. It's just I'm just speaking generally here. Here we've got something that wants a British narrator. You may think you've got a great British accent, and maybe you do. Typically, my recommendation is only narrate things where the main body of narration is in an accent that you can live in. And by that, I mean, like, if you're in a group with people who have that accent, you will automatically code switch into that accent. So for example, myself, I'm speaking in, I guess, what is my natural general American accent. I don't have a lot of really distinct markers in the way that I speak, as far as placing myself in a particular geography within America. However, if I'm hanging out with a bunch of Texans who have strong accents, suddenly, like if I'm hanging out with my Aunt Julie, if I'm hanging out with Julie and Kiefer, especially maybe I can have a couple beers, I tell you what, I start talking a little bit this way and I cannot help it. It's just the code switch happens and you start talking a little bit this way. And therefore, I would feel confident if the tag here said American Southwest or Texas. I would feel absolutely confident that I could read an entire Western or just a general story that took place in the South where they wanted the narrator to talk like this. I would feel confident taking that book. Code switching back. However, while I do feel I have a couple of different flavors of British accent that are quite good, it's not something that I would code switch into. So I will narrate books that have big British characters. I'm fine with doing that. But if if the prose is meant to be narrated in British, I'm going to sort of accept that I'm probably not the right narrator for that. There are plenty of very talented British narrators out there who would better serve the audience and the client by being selected. At the end of the day, I know when you're starting, it can feel like you're struggling, you're fighting, you'll take anything, and therefore you want to take everything. And whatever. When you're starting out, I get it. Do whatever you got to do. And at the end of the day, maybe it's just good practice. But once you're established, be discerning for the sake of being discerning. Just understand, hey, we'll let someone else take that, Someone else will be glad to take that project and, they'll have a great time or whatever. Let's take a look at something like this. I want to take a look and talk about reasons to do or not to do something based on the what you see in the audition, Let's take a look here. Audition. Let's take a look at this script. See if they've done a good job. First of all, this cover art looks great. It seems like, oh, look at this. A small town, black cat, golden retriever romance. Oh, this seems... I'm curious if they're wanting a dual narration. Doesn't say so. It doesn't say so. I'm curious. Ah, they do want dual narration. So, the rights holder hasn't made it super clear if they want partners to... Seems like they're okay with people individually auditioning, and then the client will eventually do the work of pairing people up. A lot of people do sort of work and audition as teams, and that's great. But looking at this, I would say, given that this is split in two for the different POVs, given that this is split in two, this is an appropriate length audition. And really good, this is what you want to see in an audiobook audition, is that you've got multiple speakers speaking to each other. This is what the client should be judging in their auditions. So it's first person. So I'll start from here, and I'll just give you an example, having no context of what this is about, other than I know that one point of view is the male character, one point of view is the female character. Then what? I propped an elbow on the table, letting my chin rest in my hand as I stared at her. Afraid to be left alone with me? Better watch the wine or you might end up making out with me again. I'm having a shit week. She pointed the butter knife at me. And that kiss was just as much you as it was me. And for your information, I've already had my one and only glass of wine for the night. I have a lot of stuff to do when I get back. So, I get a lot of comments from authors and rights holders that it's basically thank you for not overdoing the female voices. The best advice that I got on that particular note was from Scott Brick, who's basically read the female characters like you read the male characters. The only thing that you really need to do is just add a little bit of breath to the voice. Don't do a dramatic pitch change. Don't do a falsetto thing. Just a little bit of breath in the voice. Otherwise, they're a character. They're a person. They're a human. And as a man or a male presenting voice, that is the most effective, least grating on the listeners, best for the preservation of your own voice. For all of these reasons, that's the way to do it. So, afraid to be left alone with me? Better watch the wine or you might end up making out with me again. I'm having a shit week. Not really a difference in pitch there. It's just, I'm having a shit week. I'm having a shit week. That's the exact same pitch. Just a bit of breath in there, and that's all it takes to make that a female voice as far as the listener is concerned. And that's a voice that I can keep up for long monologues. If there's a female character that has a big, long monologue, that's no problem. Whereas if I were trying to do some outrageous, borderline offensive, falsetto girl voice, I'd have a hard time maintaining that. So keep that in mind. And also, that's what listeners want to hear. They don't want to hear outrageous, slop. Don't be slop. At any rate, I think that should probably wrap up the stream for today. Again, this was nice and productive. We got a good handful of solid auditions in. We wrote some good emails right on the middle of the stream. So I want to thank anybody who did pop in for a bit but didn't chat. That's fine. You're always welcome. If you're watching this as a VOD at some point in the future on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. I do get notifications myself for comments, and I will go back and answer them. So if you have a question like, hey, at 30 minutes in, you referenced this, or you did this thing in Pro Tools, and I don't know how the hell to do that. Drop a comment. I will respond to your comments. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Jimmy Moreland. If you want to book me, pay me to talk for you, head over to veteranaudio.com. That is my website where you can hear my demos and get in contact with me. Otherwise, hit me up on Twitch, hit me up on the YouTube, find me on Instagram or wherever you want to find me and say hello. Love chatting with whether it's voice actors, people who are considering getting into audiobook narration, hell, even like talent buyers who are like, hey, I want to know how to not be irritating when I'm posting jobs on the pay-to-plays. I am glad to have those conversations. The more education out there, the better for everybody on all sides of the industry. And I can only provide you my own perspective, but I think the more communication that happens, the better. So thanks for stopping by. I appreciate everybody for your input, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.